So she's saying she's seen, confirms both are in effect for all 18. So how's that even possible?
Anything about this case since we left yesterday? I have one other important.
So how has 18 people for over 3.5 weeks not heard anything about this case come up in any conversation anywhere they've time they've left the courthouse? So, this whole thing is fitting into my theory that jurors, they all look at what's going on in social media, on web search and stuff like that, and they're not going to admit it. So that's something I think is going to ultimately help the defense because of the roadblocking of the truth that the prosecution is doing and that the judge is rubber stamping. So
instruction for you folks, and it's so important that each and every juror can hear the evidence or the testimony that's presented, can follow the testimony, and can understand and evaluate the testimony of each witness and the exhibits. In order to do that, I just want to be very clear that it's important that people do not comment on the evidence or make any comments. Once you enter the room, it's probably a good idea to just listen. Don't talk. Don't make any facial expressions. No muttering under your breath. No audible noises, because people need to hear what's going on and to understand everything. So out of respect for your fellow jurors, I would ask that you be very careful to make sure you don't do that. And out of respect to the lawyers who worked so hard to get this case before.
Okay, this translates to the jury's already sick of what's going on here. The jury's already tired of all the antics of the prosecutor. The jury doesn't like this judge basically in the hip pocket of the prosecutor, rubber stamping everything that's going on, sustaining all of their objections and overruling the defenses. So it's really what I think is I've never seen a prosecutor this out of control and this sneaky about the way he's doing stuff. And he also has an extremely unlikable personality in court. And then you have the judge that this seems to be totally on his side as a second prosecutor of sorts. And so this is not going to play well with the jury. And exactly what's happened is we've also heard that a juror went to one of the bailiffs and said, can we actually hear what's the truth of the answer instead of these objections always coming forward? So supposedly that came out a couple of days ago. Some reporter, Howie Carr, was saying that this was like reported to him secondhand or something. So I don't know the truth of it, but I'm telling you, from my experience working many jury trials, you cannot just act any way you want. You cannot just act like you want to just object to everything all the time and just hamstring the other side and try to block the really, really good questions from coming out, which show whether Karen Read has, is really guilty or innocent. So anything that's truthful, it's like they're blocking. And I think the jury knows enough about the case. They're getting sick of it. Maybe not every single one of them, but enough of them are getting sick of this dog and pony show, this goat rodeo that's really hampering the truth from coming out. So it's not even under the guise of a court of law anymore. It's really under the guise of let's cherry pick the evidence we want to come in, and anything that could explain how other people might have been involved in John O'Keefe's death. That information is not relevant. It's going to confuse the jury. So the only thing they want is evidence that points a finger at Karen Read. They don't want any other evidence that comes out and points a finger at anybody else or raises reasonable doubts about how they collected in evidence that they're then using to try to say, let's see, this points a finger at Karen Read. So everything is a convoluted, hot mess. And the judges even making excuses for when they have chain of custody that's absolutely broken. So you just don't see stuff this insane, crazy in a court of law in any case I've ever seen in different parts of the United States. So that's what I think is going on here. You cannot act this way like Hank Brennan and expect the jury to like you and want to support and do what you're asking them to do, which is convict Karen Read. So I think all these things that are working against Karen Read by all these truths not coming out, I think the jury for the most part, sees it for what it is, which is when Hank is objecting to something, the jury's picking up that it's the truth. He's blocking the truth. And if you block the truth as a prosecutor, you pretty much are telling the jury your case is absolutely garbage. It's you can't win the case other than just to hamstring the defense or bringing out the truth. So that's what I think we're going to get more of
Thank you
here.
very much. With that, Mr. Brennan,